What's up, everybody? In today's video, I want to review the book What Should I Do With My Life by Po Bronson. I don't know how I didn't find this book earlier in my life, just earlier in general, because I feel like I've been asking this question for myself. I feel like I've been asking myself this question for like 5 years or something, and I think it's maybe because like the title is misleading, and then the description of the book is also misleading. But I found this book by like someone from my gym on like an Instagram post or something, and they talked about how this book changed their life. And then I researched, and I like self-help books, obviously, so I researched more about it because the title's so good. And then I found out it's about people that are like on the journey to follow their passion. And so like that really resonated with me because I'm always trying to figure that out, and I'm always trying to figure out like the best way to do that. Because I'm not really feeling fulfilled in my current job, and I'm trying to figure out the best way to transition to like doing my own thing. Obviously, these videos are kind of that, but this book is really good. It was a #1 bestseller, but it was a bestseller like 18 years ago, like right around September 11th. So I guess that's probably how I didn't find it, and it must have died down. And the popularity of it must have died down. Even though I feel like people are asking this question now more than ever, but Po Bronson dealt with it himself back then, and he decided to like research it. He was a novelist, but before that he was like a trader on Wall Street. Like he traded bonds and things like that. What he did is he quit his job on Wall Street, and then he decided to pursue writing full time. And so his path worked out for him. It took some time, but it worked out for him. And so he wanted to like research this more. It's kind of divergent from the other things he's written, because the other stuff he's written has been fictional, where this is like completely nonfiction. Like a lot of people told him not to write it, but he decided to do it himself anyway. And it's really like, this book is so crazy because I can't even imagine the person doing this work. He said he interviewed like 1,000 people who did this. And there's another book recently similar to this that I haven't finished yet, When to Jump by Mike Lewis. That's somewhat similar. They both do the same thing. They both like are case studies of people that are trying to leave jobs that they don't like, or trying to leave careers or businesses or things like that they don't like, and go into things that they do want to do. But Po Bronson's is like way more thorough. It's like almost 400 pages, and it's just these case studies of people that have done this. So who's this book for? This book is for anybody that wants to figure out what to do with their life, and you know if it's for you because you're like one of those people that's on that search for that, right? Like you have this thing in your soul where you're not fulfilled, and you're looking for something more in your life. You know there's something more. You know that you could be doing something else, that you should be pursuing a passion. For him, it was writing. Like he knew he should write, or he found it. He found writing. And that's another thing that in the book that I reviewed by Cal Newport, So Good They Can't Ignore You, he doesn't believe that passion exists. But I believe passion exists. Sometimes we just have to work to find it, or there's skills that we like to perform, and we just have to find the right fit for it. And that's something this book is like real. It's not. He doesn't try and like be positive about everything, because there are some like not so good stories in this book of people that did it and failed. And so that's one thing, he kind of tends towards that, the more negative side. But the negative side of going on your own. But he doesn't really discourage people, because he tells, there's one guy in this book that went on his own, and he's like, screw it, I'm gonna do my own thing, and he failed. And he's like, Po, don't tell people to do this. And then Po's like, yeah, but the thing is, the person that's gonna do it has like a fire burning in them, and if they don't pursue it and they just stay the safe route their whole life, then they're gonna regret it. So, and that's one thing that I believe as well, that you can't just do the safe route the whole time. Or maybe you can if you're not really passionate about anything. But if you have a passion, you kind of know it, and you know that you have to jump. And that's where this book is really good, because, and that's why I like these type of books now. I didn't like When to Jump when I started reading it, but I started to like it more as you read about people's lives and all the things that they face. Like there's people that are married, that have kids, that have money, that don't have any money, and there's no right way to go about this. And that's what Poe really highlights in this book. That there's some misconceptions, and I was about to get to that a second ago, but the best part about this book is it answers a lot of the questions that you might have, the misconceptions, and it does it through the case studies. But it's like, are you going to have an epiphany of like, what your passion is or when you should do something? Like a lot of people in other self-help books are like, it hit me, or I prayed, or I went to this conference. And Poe says, remember, he interviewed like 1,000 people. So none of the people that he interviewed had like an epiphany. Another misconception that I had, and that I read about too, especially when you read like Yahoo Finance or other things like that, is that you're going to have a nest egg to perfectly be able to jump and to have enough resources to like do it. And he says he's never seen that. He's never seen any of these people that were successful or that did this. There's no perfect amount of money they didn't have the right amount or anything like that. It's just, you have to have faith. You have to believe, and religion can help with that, is my belief at least. You can believe your own thing. But that's the other thing too. He's like, he highlights those. He goes through all the types of things, the misconceptions you might have, and he puts them in like sections. So like he has like a section on like where he goes into religion. He has a section on people with kids. He has a section on people that are couples that work together in what they decided to do. He has a section on people when they're discovering themselves was them going on traveling. And like that's so popular now. It wasn't as popular back then, but after Tim Ferriss did his 4-Hour Workweek, everybody's dream now is to go traveling. And I believe that could be a trap for a lot of people, because when you're traveling, you're not really building anything or doing anything, and you're just spending money. So I think a lot of people can just, lose themselves out there. But he talks about people that traveled, and he says, the best part about the traveling is like you learn to like listen to yourself or be with yourself if you're like traveling solo, because you have to rely on yourself. And the best forms of travel when you're doing that type of thing is going to a place and not having a plan, because you learn to be resourceful and plan things on your own and believe in yourself. So he goes through all these scenarios of like all these misconceptions that you might, or not misconceptions, but misgivings or things you don't feel right about, and you're about to make this jump. He tells you these people, but he doesn't say, he tells you the stories of these people, but he doesn't say like, this is the right way to do it, this is the wrong way. He's like, there's people that did it, some of them succeeded and some of them don't. And some of his stories just end abruptly. It's kind of weird. You'll be in a story and you'll be feeling the groove, and it's just like he cuts it off because it just fulfilled that section that he was writing about. But this book is great. There's so much information in here. If you're one of those people that, you have this passion in you and you have to follow it, and like you read this book and maybe you read a story in here that pushes you towards it, or you read something in here that pushes you away from it. For me, it showed me the importance of, pursuing my passion. It's not gonna be a right time to quit my job or do anything like that. That's another thing he talks about too, is the job stuff. He talks about like, you can't let time keep passing you by, because it gets harder and harder. And if you've read the other books, if you followed my channel and read the other books, like these habits and things you do stack up behind each other. And at some point, like they're like stuck in there. So the longer you wait, the tougher it's going to be, and the less time you have in your life to do these things. So there's no right time. There's never going to be a right time. There's better times in your life, but there's not going to be a right time. And if you need confirmation, then I would really recommend picking this book up. What should I do with my life? And then I would recommend this book too, When to Jump. A lot of people, the reviews for this one aren't as good, but again, this is like a case study book. So it's stories of people. So you can like affirm what you believe, or if you're scared, then maybe it'll convince you to stay with your job. Because there's a lot of stories in this book, in both books too, where it's like, where people run out of money or something like that. So you're not guaranteed anything. And some more advice that I would provide, and I'm not a super expert on this, right? I have some side businesses that make money, but the thing is, you have to be profit minded when you do these things. If you don't have enough money to survive on, if you're not if you're not financially independent right now, you have to be profit minded in what you do. You can't just follow these passions that don't go anywhere, don't make money, because then you'll destroy yourself mentally. You have to find something that fulfills your passion but makes you money. And the way you can do that is just write ideas down, be constantly thinking about making money and researching ways to make money online or through books, through real estate investments in general, saving money, things like that. You just be constantly thinking about how to save money, make money. If you make money, make sure to save it too. That's just a little bit of my own advice. Again, this book is by Poe Bronson. It's a great book. I recommend it. It's not the most positive book, but it's realistic, and it has a lot of case studies in there that are going to, something in there is going to hit you. And with that, I wanted to cover one more thing. So there were some amazing quotes in this book that I just wanted to, that a couple of them I wrote down, and I wanted to just say those right now. Okay, the first quote from the book that I really, really liked was, "The right question is not what's the crap factor. The right question is how can I find something that moves my heart so that the inevitable crap storm is bearable." And I like this quote because a lot of people, when you're talking about how you don't like your job, they're like, "Oh man, you just have to just deal with it, man. Everybody's got something." But that's the thing, is like when you don't like your job, you got to deal with the politics and all that stuff, and you just don't enjoy doing what you like doing, then it becomes impossible. Versus when you're pursuing your passion, you know things are going to hit. Like if you own a business, maybe you run into some taxes or some hiccups, some sales go down, but at least you're doing what you like. So that's what I identified with there, and like that's what you're going to run into when you talk to people about this stuff. Another quote that I liked is, "Very often we don't value the things that come easiest to us. It's the things that we work for, the things we earn, that we treasure the most." And that's another thing about jobs, right? Like the thing about jobs is like you can just, a lot of jobs, when you get high enough, or just a lot of jobs in general, you can just sit there and the money's easy. And that's what people will tell you too, is like, just do it. You're lucky, be grateful. But that's not fulfilling a lot of times. And like I've talked about in other books, like just reviewed Digital Minimalism, he talks about doing hard things. It's building the things yourself, like finding your own path that you're going to treasure the most. Like money is there, but like money isn't the most fulfilling. It's going to be these doing stuff for yourself and like fulfilling your dreams. Whether it's realistic, I mean that's what I would say, like make it realistic, but who am I like to judge whether it's realistic for you or not? Like that's something you have to judge for yourself. Another quote they really identified with is, the quote says, "From our deepest wounds come our greatest gifts." And that's something that Poe goes over a lot in this book. A lot of people, you have to do soul searching, and it's like the times that you were hurt as a child from your parents, you have to look at those and explore those, and then that's going to release you from your anxiety, your problems, maybe to help you find your passion. And he saw a lot of examples where a released person from the burden of finding their passion, or they found their passion by exploring that. So that's something I really identified with as well. Another quote is, "When you start to think that you haven't been the pilot of your life for a long, long time, you have no other choice but to hear what your soul is saying." Again, I identified with this too, because like you can get, it's so crazy how fast life moves, right? Like you can get down a path where, you go to school, then you go to college, then you go right to work, and then you work all these hours, and then, you build this life. And then all of a sudden you're like, I just checked all these boxes that society wanted me to check, but I never really sat down to say like, what are the things I want to accomplish in my life? And like, what do I want to do? And do I want to do what society wants me to do? Do I want to like make all this money to buy all these things that don't make me happy? It's just advertisements, just a mobile phone that runs your life. And those are the moments where it's like, yeah, like your soul just hurts, or at least mine does, where it's like you haven't been listening. You have to sit there and listen to what your soul is saying. Like, what do you like doing? What don't you like doing? Sitting there and listening to a boss that, doesn't really have a rhyme or reason or direction they want to go and doesn't support you and things like that, it can crush your soul. So that's something I identified with. The last quote that I'll discuss is the one about the epiphany. And in this, he said there's 900 plus stories that he went through for this book, and nobody was struck with an epiphany. That's crazy. So it's like, I was like that earlier in my journey, whatever this journey is. And like, I thought you wait for the epiphany. You think something's going to strike you. Like, that'll be the moment where I decide to do this or that. And it's not going to be that. That's what he says. So I think it's where you just got to tinker around with stuff and combine skills, or, maybe it's something you do like doing. Or maybe you do have a passion that you want to follow. So there's not going to be any great epiphany to tell you, like, when to jump from your job or the best career or anything like that. You just have to kind of follow your, you just kind of have to, you just have to like follow your gut and do what you feel is right after you do your exploring of your soul. So those are some great quotes that I liked from the book. Obviously, this book really resonated with me, and I recommend it to anybody that's on this journey of following your passion, thinking about leaving your job, or thinking about just, pursuing something. Maybe you don't want to go to college, things like that. This book, tons of case studies in case you got to convince somebody in your life. I know I had to. And there's something else. There's one thing in this book. I mean, I could obviously talk about this book forever. There's another thing in this book too, where I didn't write down this quote, but it's like, the hardest part sometimes about about following these things and changing your life is like, you have to change the person that you've been presenting to other people, and you'll leave those people behind. Like, you have to make new friends. He talks about that as well. Like, when he became a writer, he surrounded himself with writers. But there'll be people, like in his case, maybe Wall Street people, you have to leave behind. Or maybe your family. They've gotten used to you being a certain type of person. And you don't want to be that person anymore. You don't want to be the corporate professional. You don't want to be the boring person. You want to be the excited, happy person. Maybe you've been somber your whole life, and now you want to be happy. So this book is for you if you're exploring your passion, if you need a reason to jump, if you don't need a reason to jump. This book just has tons of good content. It's a great book by Poe Bronson. I hope you check it out. And if you like this video, make sure to give it a like and subscribe to the channel to get my other book reviews and recommendations and self-help advice. Thanks for watching.